Many had been here before me. I could tell by the strange, horrifying things written on the walls. Messages and symbols smeared in blood covered the cold concrete, some so old that the redness had faded to a dull brown, and others so fresh that the metallic stench of blood still hung thick in the air. The ceiling above was crumbling, threatening to collapse at any moment and crush me where I sat. I was trapped, a prisoner in a cage of concrete and decay. The three walls surrounded me like tombstones, and it was upon these walls that the madness of others had been carved in crimson despair. One of the walls, opposite the barred side, had a small opening where a thin shaft of moonlight slipped through. In the oppressive darkness, that faint beam was the only thing that illuminated my cell, not enough to bring comfort, but enough to see the filth I was drowning in. The opening was too far to reach, too small for any man to crawl through, barely 4 inches high and 7 inches wide. The other side of my cell was lined with metal bars, rusted and cold, separating me from the unseen corridor beyond. The air reeked. The foulness of dried blood mingled with the sickly odor of rotting flesh. I half expected to see a demon crouched in one of the dark corners watching me. This prison cell was hell itself, a place where only the filthiest of men, like me, belonged. Sleep refused to come. I sat upright on the edge of my steel bed, the kind found in neglected hospitals, staring blankly at the inverted red pentagram drawn on the wall before me. I wished for death rather than another night in this miserable pit. From outside, a wolf howled in the woods beyond the prison walls, roaming under the full moon's pale light. From the next cell came the sounds of a man weeping, then laughing, then weeping again, as though madness were eating him alive. I could hear nails scraping against concrete, the desperate sound of fingers tearing and bleeding in a futile attempt to dig through solid stone. And above it all were the footsteps of the guards, their boots echoing through the corridor. The metallic clank of their nightsticks hitting the bars was maddening. Under such circumstances, how could a man ever find peace? Only fear found me. A cloud drifted across the moon, swallowing the light, and darkness consumed everything. My senses sharpened. The smell of blood became sharper, the sounds clearer. It was as though the darkness had stolen my sight but given me stronger senses in return, a cruel compensation from hell itself. Then it began to rain. The howls and scratching faded beneath the soft patter of raindrops and distant thunder. For a moment I felt relief. But the smell of blood grew stronger, and it made me imagine that the sky itself was bleeding, raining crimson upon the world. The darkness grew deeper, more absolute. I raised my hand before my face and saw nothing. This kind of darkness should only exist in the depths of the earth where demons dwell. But perhaps that was fitting, for we, the inmates of this place, were demons without horns. I was here because I murdered my brother. From what I'd heard, another prisoner had torn the heart out of his wife and eaten it. Yes, monsters we were. And this was our abyss. I lay down again, praying for sleep, wishing to awaken only when the nightmare was over, when the morning's light would finally call me back to sanity. But then a thunderclap roared so loudly that it shook the entire prison. My eyes flew open, the nightmare far from over. I sat up again, shaking my head, drowning in pity and dread. A flash of lightning tore across the sky, lighting the cell for a brief instant, brighter than daylight. In that blinding flash I saw him. A man stood before me, cloaked in black, his face marked by a long scar across his left cheek. My breath caught. That scar. I knew it. It was the cut I had given my brother before I killed him. He shouldn't be here. He was dead. His death was the very reason I was trapped in this damned place. Panic surged through me. Another flash illuminated the cell, and this time he raised his right hand, clutching a dagger, poised to strike. Instinct took over. I grabbed his wrist with my left hand and punched his throat with my right. As he gasped for breath, I tore the dagger from his grip and drove it into his left eye. His eyeball popped free, dangling grotesquely from the blade. He collapsed. Dead, or dead again. I didn't know why, but suddenly my vision returned. Even without light, I could see everything with unnatural clarity. Madness consumed me. I straddled his corpse, slicing away at his face. I peeled off strips of flesh and ate them. The taste, warm, salty, alive, was intoxicating, far better than the stale prison bread they fed us. With his blood, I wrote words on the floor beside him. When I finished, I looked down at the mangled body, the skinned face, the missing eye, the split tongue, and read what I had written. The dead should be dead. Do not return. Satisfied with my gruesome art, I threw my head back and laughed, a deep, demonic laughter that echoed through the stone walls. Then, suddenly, the ceiling split open and a torrent of blood poured down on me, drenching me from head to toe. I woke up, soaked and shivering. 2 guards stood outside my cell, staring at me through the bars. One held a flashlight shining directly into my face. The other gripped an empty bucket, water dripping from its rim. "Do you know where you are?" one of them asked. "Yes, sir," I answered calmly. "I'm in a prison." "Of course you are," he said. "At least you're not completely insane. Now tell me, why were you laughing like a madman in the middle of the night?" I smiled faintly. "Nothing, sir. Just a good dream." The guards exchanged uneasy glances, muttered something under their breath, and walked away. I lay back on my steel bed, the cold still clinging to my skin, and slowly drifted back into my slumber, back into the darkness that never truly ends.